Stormwood Associates is a part of the Nerd and Tie podcast network. For more podcasts from actual play to true crime to witchcraft, go to nerdandtie.com or join our Discord by finding an invite at nerdandtie.com/discord. All right, and welcome to episode 0 of campaign 2 of Stormwood Associates. I am one of your GMs and players. I'm Trey Dorn. Joining me, as always, are Kyle Johnson, Gen Proc, and Nick Izumi. And we are introducing Campaign 2. Because rather than just throwing you into it like we did with Campaign 1, what we're going to do is talk about the setting of Campaign 2 and how it's different from Campaign 1. And then we're going to introduce the characters that you're going to meet throughout however many episodes this mess takes. Like Campaign 1, we will be rotating GMs, but I'll be handling the primary story. And that's not to say that episodes GMs by the other players won't become massively important to the primary story like we saw in Campaign 1. And obviously Campaign 1 saw us follow the San Ricardo office of Stormwood and Associates in the United States of Aramecia, with Brad Stormwood et al. And their, fight against Hollowell. And the San Ricardo office was a new office that is, as we ended the campaign, is slowly starting to expand into a larger operation. But Stormwood and Associates is actually a massive international organization with offices around the world, including Chicago, Illinois. And that's where we're going to find our characters with Campaign 2. Is our characters will be starting out in the Chicago, Illinois office of Stormwood and Associates. And the Chicago office is very different from the small fledgling San Ricardo office. The Chicago office is actually run by a cousin of Raz and Robert Stormwood. Robert Stormwood being the head of all of Stormwood and Associates, Raz being our protagonist from Campaign 1, as played by Gen Proc. But we're not going to meet the person in charge of the office. You see, the Chicago office covers large parts of the United States, including several major metro areas. And it is staffed by literally hundreds of people. And its investigative teams are called field teams. And our cast is going to be the newly formed Field Operations Team 623. Field Operations Team 623. And they are going to be going on wherever they are assigned, and they aren't going to always be staying in one place. But they don't choose their clients. They're just sent. Because we are much lower down the ladder in the Stormwood organization than Raz Stormwood, direct descendant of Aesop Stormwood. Because the Stormwood family is huge. The Stormwood cousin actually running the Chicago office, Ethan Stormwood, is a distant cousin of Robert Stormwood. You see, Aesop Stormwood, when he created his organization, he wanted to make sure that both his organization and family were quite large. Aesop Stormwood, fun historical fact, was married 3 times, divorced twice, widowed the 3rd time, and had over 10 children. And those children were fruitful and multiplied. And there are so many Stormwoods. There are just so many frickin' Stormwoods. There's now, Raz Stormwood was the oldest child of the oldest child of the oldest child et al., going back as the, primary heir of the Stormwood destiny. But there were lots of other Stormwoods out there. Lots of other branches of the family, going every which way. Not all of them completely human, even. Aesop Stormwood's 3rd wife was an elf. All of these Stormwoods include, though, Ethan Stormwood's daughter, who is going to be the Stormwood you meet in this series as the leader of the newly formed Field Operations Group 623, Liz Stormwood. And Liz is going to be played by Kyle. Kyle, tell us about Liz Stormwood.
Liz Stormwood, daughter of Ethan Stormwood, was she was raised in the company, so she has experience with, this sort of thing, but she left that behind a while ago, went off to college, has been working on her master's in engineering. And then when the family business imploded, she came back to help rebuild. She is a human. She wears black rimmed glasses and has her blonde hair pulled back into a bun. Her standard attire is a matching skirt and blazer set over a single color short sleeve top. In the field, she'll wear a clean white pair of Keds, but in the office, she'll wear more appropriate business shoes. She is she's not what a whole lot of people would think of as fun. She thinks she's fun, I'm sure.
She thinks she's fun?
Yeah.
And so she's a human. What's her archetype?
She is a scientist.
She's a scientist, this is the first time we've seen a player play a scientist in a... Well, okay, so there is an episode of The Meat Grinder in which someone plays a scientist, but that season... This will air before that... Campaign 2 will start airing before that season, that episode of that season comes out. So this will be the first time you hear a scientist in this system in a podcast. But not the first time we've had someone play one. So you're going to be going in with no combat suite moves.
That's correct.
This is going to be fun. All right. So, also on the team is filled out by, of course, a rather interesting set of characters, including Nick. Tell us about your character.
Okay, so I am playing Dee, and she just goes by Dee. Dee is a trans woman elf who doesn't like getting too much into her backstory, but has a whole lot of probably too much self-confidence. She thinks very highly of her own abilities. She is definitely not hyping herself up to make up for the fact that she is in her late 20s and is mostly rudderless and directionless as far as her life goes. She almost always, if she can and it's not too damn cold, she is going to wear cut-off jeans. And boots are like her signature. Red hair, usually tied back in a ponytail. Depends on what she's going for, though. She is an absolute disaster of a person. She's a driver. So it's safe to say that most of her schooling may have come from the School of Hard Knocks, but she got good grades, so that's something.
All right.
So that's kind of where I'm at.
When I hear D, all I think of is D. Wake up, D. Nobody's hand is talking.
It's definitely not a really subtle reference to a French historical figure who I'm really fond of.
Okay. Cool.
I'll get into it eventually,
Yeah,
probably.
that's fine. All right, neat. Awesome. And then a more unconventional member of the team is Gen's character, Obi.
Okay. Dear listener, bear with me.
Nothing ever starts out well with that.
Okay, so going by the nickname of Obi is my character. Full name is Obadiah Winston Harvey Prism. Yes, he has 2 middle names. It's a thing. Okay, so Obi is an orc. He is a 10-year-old child prodigy. He has just graduated high school, and he is taking some work before going to college, trying to figure out what he wants to do with his life. He is an investigator architect. And yeah, I mean,
I love it.
Yeah, he's an investigator archetype. He likes Minecraft, space, Fortnite, Star Wars, and pizza. He dislikes wading and mushrooms. I also made up his parents. Do you want to hear about his folks?
Sure, tell me about his parents.
Okay, his dad is
who
Brian.
Are these irresponsible parents who are letting their child go to dangerous gunfire?
They have strict stipulations that they signed off on. Okay, so his dad is Brian Prism. He's 42 years old. He's a theoretical physicist at a private university. He loves music. He really wants to start a Pink Floyd cover band, but can't find anybody to play with. And his mom is Elise Prism, and she is a 40-year-old neurosurgeon at a nearby medical center, and she has a weird fascination with medieval history.
Neat.
Mm-hmm. And then I've got a list of things that Obi keeps in his backpack. But yeah,
well, it's good that you know what Obi has in his backpack.
Mm-hmm. It'll come up useful for later.
Yes. All right. And then finally, last but not least, is my character, and I'm going to be playing Amy Hawkins. Amy is, you may remember, as one of the interns from Campaign 1 of Stormwood Associates. That's right. I'm playing a character from an NPC from the earlier campaign. Amy, who interned at the San Ricardo office and was involved in the final battle against Hollowell, in part by, blowing up a lot of cops with Psychic Flame. She has finished her bachelor's degree and got hired by the Chicago office of Stormwood and Associates after, having worked for the company as an intern. Amy, if for those of you who don't remember, because she was, a minor character, besides most notably kissing Bill, she was the intern who did all the work. Amy is she's a little bit goth, but almost more in a mall goth way, in certain ways in how I describe her sense of fashion. Largely in all black. There's a blue streak in her hair. Wears a choker, but is mostly just kind of resigned that she's going to have to be dealing with this shit. She's a magic user. Obviously, if you haven't listened to Campaign 1, then you do need to be told that. But yeah, she's a magic user. And yeah, she's in her mid-20s and very tired. And that is Amy. Some fun facts about this. There are some changes to the mechanics that we're doing with Campaign 2. And that is we are using a set of rules called the Advanced Combat Rules. These are on the Super Awesome Action Heroes website. They're not in the printed manual. So these are optional rules that can be added onto the system that add some variety. especially for like long form campaigns like the ones we've been doing. Mostly the biggest changes is we've added critical successes and critical failures to combat. So combat largely works the same as it did in campaign 1, but there were some times in combat where our characters were fighting fodder who could not mathematically hurt them. And sometimes they take on an enemy where the only way that they could do real damage was to use a sweep move. They had no chance of doing like damage on a dice roll, right? This is where the critical successes and critical fail, and also they would come up with against guys who they couldn't miss, right? Like you would come up against people that there was nothing that you could do to miss. Well, with critical successes on the D10, if they roll a 10 on their D10 in an attack roll, instead of just being a 10, they will, on an attack roll, they will automatically succeed in hitting their target regardless of the target's dodge score. So if the fodder guy shooting at our heroes when they're like re-archetyped 3 times in level 5 shoots at them, they can still hit them if they hit the 10. Likewise, even doesn't matter how low the person's dodge is, if in your attack you roll a 1 on your D10, you will fail hitting them on an attack roll no matter what. So additionally, you'll just look really stupid. That's in the rules. It literally says your character looks dumb if they roll a 1 on their attack. Now, on a damage roll, if a player rolls a 10, a critical success on a damage roll, the target's soak will be considered 1/2 of its score rounded down. So, for example, if the target normally has a soak of 5, on a critical success on the damage roll, that soak would be divided in half and rounded down, so that would be a 2. So, and likewise, this happens to our heroes if they're being attacked. And if they fail, a critical fail on their damage roll, they will do no damage to their target on a damage roll. So even if your base scores say that you should kill that fodder no matter what you roll, if you roll a 1 on your damage roll, regardless of stats, you will do no damage to your target. And also your character looks really super dumb. That is also in the rules. It says also your character looks really super dumb. You can look and you will find it there. Now, whether or not critical failures or successes occur on D10 challenges or ability rolls, like, say, a hide roll, those are up to the GM. They do not affect rolls on sweep move damage. Rolling a 10 on your sweep move damage when you're fighting much fodder will give you no bonuses. Rolling a 1 will not hurt you on a sweep move damage roll, right? So if you're doing a sweep move on multiple targets and you're given your bonus D10 because you're targeting fodder characters, if you roll a 1 on that, there's no penalty. You know, it's not a huge roll, but there's not a penalty on a sweep move roll or a magical attack, things like that. Things that would use the sweep move rules aren't affected by this. Besides that, we are introducing a thing that this, in the advanced combat rules, introduces something that's not necessarily combat based, but is something the system has been sorely lacking, and that is fall damage. In campaign 1, if our characters had been stupid and jumped off a 10-story building, technically there is absolutely no penalty to that. That is changing. Now, our characters will still be able to do really stupid things. Like if they jump off from a height that is under 3 stories, they're still going to be fine. But what it is that once you get to 3 stories or more, then our characters will start to take damage rolls of 1d6 per every 3 stories. So if it's under 3 stories, the person will take no damage. If it's 3 to 5 stories, they'll take 1d6 damage on that fall. If it's 6 to 8 stories, 2d6, 9 to 11 stories, 3d6, etc. And 3 stories are approximately 42 feet in this system. If you need to do math on an actual height that's not a building. And obviously that continues to scale as it gets taller. So if your character falls 30 stories, they're going to take 10d6 damage. Which for our level 1 characters is instant death. So don't jump 30 stories is what I'm saying before you re-archetype.
Dang it.
Unless you're using a sweep move where you figure out a way to descend with a rope and all this other stuff. Like, obviously, if you need to jump 4 stories, use a sweep move where you can swing down or, parkour off down the side of the building. And that will keep you from taking damage. But, if you just, jump off an airship, then you're going to make me mad as I do math and figure out how many D6s I have to pull out of my dice bag. But also, likewise, when Royce was thrown off a cliff, he might have died in Campaign 1 if we had implemented this. And then you wouldn't have had to have dealt with him in the finale.
Oh, yeah, but, that you're not going to kill a main bad guy off screen like that, would we?
Well, we
We
would
would.
if it was...
We absolutely would.
If it was because a character kicked them off a building, yes. I mean, I might give them to their turn to try to, because 6 seconds, how long does it take to fall? How far can you fall in 6 seconds? How far does a person fall in 6 seconds is literally a thing that someone's already asked on Quora.
That's uncomfortable.
Well, our round time is the same as... so in 6 seconds, a person will fall about 180 meters. So 180 meters in feet. 590 feet. Yeah, no. You're boned. Use a sweep move. I guess technically if the fall was high enough. So 180 divided by 42. So that's 46 damage at that point when you'd be at 46 damage in 6 seconds of falling uncontrolled. So if you're up next in the initiative order, don't fall. That's the lesson here, folks, is don't fall. All right. With that, I think that's enough to wrap up episode 0, and we will talk to you guys next week in episode 1 of campaign 2. And I'll just use I'll use campaign 1's outro music. I don't know if we're going to change it for campaign 2. But here you go, guys.